And we're back with another episode of the Bitcoin Brew. I'm Amy, joined in studio by Becca. This show is in association with the Texas Blockchain Council. We are working to make Texas the most welcoming state for Bitcoin and blockchain innovation. It's been quite a week in the crypto market. Oh, first things first, these opinions that we are sharing on the show are ours alone. We are not financial advisors, and we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel. This week marked the 5th anniversary of Bitcoin Independence Day. Also, we saw 8,000 Solana wallets had been hacked in a heist of almost $5.2 million in digital coins, specifically Sol and USDC. Bitcoin is down 2.5% and is standing at $23,300. In TBC-related news, the Texas Blockchain Summit secured Commissioner Pham of the CFTC to speak in November. We're super excited about that. And on the agenda today, we're going to hash out a new application that has immense potential for Africans, retailers shifting towards accepting cryptocurrency, a Bitcoin Civil War history lesson, and some SEC developments.
All right, well, you may have heard that Bitcoin adoption is absolutely skyrocketing in Africa, especially in Nigeria. There's a company working to make Bitcoin more accessible for those who do not have a smartphone, which is the biggest roadblock for many would-be users. The classic Nokia brick-looking cell phone is called a feature phone, and now, thanks to Machankura, I may not be pronouncing that correctly, you can access the Lightning Network on this phone. So you can picture the Nokia brick phone. There's only text, no graphics, nothing like that. So from what I understand, this could potentially provide Lightning access to millions and millions of Nigerians, because over half of cell phone users in Nigeria have what they would call a feature phone or a brick phone. Year-over-year inflation is sitting somewhere in the teens for Nigeria, so Bitcoin adoption, even with its volatility, is beneficial, because we have to remember, even though with the volatility, Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. So you're not worried about government shutting down your money, locking it up, for it to not be accessible. So I do have some questions about this technology. My first question would be if the interface, is it cumbersome? Is it easy to use? Is it intuitive? It's all via text. And also it's on telecommunications. So texts are not private information. I don't know if there's a special component to this technology that makes it private, but you wouldn't want to use your Bitcoin via text. So it's kind of an interesting situation. All right, so this is what he said. Banking the unbanked by building products to focus on addressing Africans' specific settlement and payment system problems while leveraging decentralized innovations such as Bitcoin is a journey the Bitcoin developers in Africa have embarked on intensely in the past couple of months. And this is by a guy named Heritage Philodem, and he's the guy that wrote the article where I first heard about this technology. So I think it's important to highlight developments like these to shed light on the possibility of it maybe being a scam or not secure enough. If it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. You really need to do your homework here. On the other hand, if it does turn out to be legitimate, this could be an extremely beneficial tool to opening the door for many Bitcoin users all over the world. Because if you eliminate the requirement to own a smartphone, then that's going to open the door for just across the board Bitcoin adoption.
Accessibility. That's what we're all about.
It leads straight into what we're talking about next, because if you don't have a smartphone, then you can't purchase things that we're about to talk about.
You can't transact as you could. I would have loved to have seen the programming behind all of that, because it's almost like having to take the technology we have now and modify it to be used in something that is lower tech. I wonder what that was like.
Sure. There's a couple different companies I think that have been either they've already done this or they're working on it, but this one was the newest, most straightforward one. So it's very interesting. It's definitely a concept that needs to be developed. So we'll see.
Is there a middle person? Is it centralized? Is it decentralized?
See, that's also, it would have to be a centralized company. Machankura doing this. And so that was kind of the first, like, is it a scam? Are they just going to take your Bitcoin if they see it come across their communications platform? Or is it secure like a wallet would be? I'm not sure.
And encrypting on the brick phone, I mean.
Sure. I know.
Well, I will be watching this eagerly to see how that rolls out. That's really neat.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. So speaking about spending Bitcoin, merchants and customers alike are having good experiences transacting with cryptocurrency. In fact, 75% of retailers are planning to accept payments with cryptocurrencies by 2024, according to a new study by Deloitte. That's double the current amount. Best numbers I could find were about 36% of companies are accepting it currently. Of these, 51% will be immediately converting the assets back to fiat, as the security of the payment platforms, regulatory and taxation ambiguity were flagged as hurdles for the retailers. But despite these concerns, retailers are eager to extend this offering to expand their clientele and enhance customer experience. The type of crypto payment most merchants accept now is a non-crypto native digital wallet. That would be like your PayPal, your Venmo. This is how 95% of customers are able to use cryptocurrency for in-store purchases at this time. I found this cool graphic that shows, it was from payments.com, and it shows that 95% of businesses are innovating ideas to accept crypto. But it's worth noting that the timeline shows that they're not really thinking about making that move until about 2 years' time. 2 years was the same amount of time Deloitte is saying that a majority of the retailers are going to come on board. So retailers are working to further acceptance of digital wallet payments, gift cards purchased with crypto, and then finally the crypto debit credit cards. And Jack Mallers had an interesting quote at Bitcoin Miami 2022 I wanted to share with you. He basically calls the network of credit cards, he calls it the boomer network.
Ooh.
And that, places like Chipotle, and it named a bunch of other companies, they were going to come on and start using the Lightning Network and, getting this moving forward. So 2 years, I don't know. What do you think is special about that number?
Well, it's kind of where the halving would be as well, which is interesting for the Bitcoin side. I know that they're probably wanting to do cryptocurrency transactions, not just Bitcoin as far as like accepting payments. Right. Is that correct? So, and I mean, Jack Mallers is the CEO of Strike, so he's working as hard as he can to get into every single store, as he should, because it's going to be an extremely helpful tool. But I could see it. I mean, it's super cool. I feel like almost every day you can look and like someone else is accepting crypto as payment, or they're rolling it out or something like that. So I could definitely see in 2 years' time it being more mainstream.
The 2 years too had me thinking about the regulatory components coming down,
the election getting established,
and just the policy that's hopefully going to get passed, and some of this hopeful turmoil will be kind of a thing of the past, and maybe the comfortability is going to be more in 2 years' time.
Yeah,
hopefully sooner than that, but
yeah, I mean it's going to be a rocky start, I think, getting it and like just getting people used to it, how to interface with it. Don't you think?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. That's why I think we need to do a piece about going in. We want to show a transaction, how that works, kind of break it down for our viewers. So
yeah, we got to do that.
We will.
Got to go get some tacos.
Oh, and I wanted to tell you about PayPal. They're incentivizing people to use crypto. They give you a code. You can send it to up to 5 friends. That gives them $5 worth of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin specifically. And then if they cash that in, you get double the money back.
Interesting.
Up to $50. So yeah, there's already some incentivization, is that a word? For people to start transacting. Yeah, we'll make it a word today.
Very cool. All right, we'll have to do that. Okay, well, Bitcoin users celebrated a historical marker this week. All right, so August 1st is what we would call Bitcoin Independence Day. It was all over Twitter and the like, and so I had to do a deep dive on this because I wanted to fully understand what it was. When I first heard that, I just thought, oh, this is when Bitcoin Cash just popped out, and that's what happened. there's so much more to the story. So we're going to branch off into education territory for just a minute. In 2017, we had what we call, or what the OG Bitcoiners would call, the block size war. This war was between the small blockers and the big blockers. So both sides had the intention to increase Bitcoin adoption, but they came at it from two very different angles. The big blockers wanted to increase the block size of Bitcoin, and the small blockers wanted to eventually increase the number of individual users. So basically, if the big blockers won, they would increase the block size, which would eventually cause the outcome for Bitcoin to be a centralized network, because only the massive companies would be able to have the capacity to run a Bitcoin node. This would make it impossible for individual users to run a node, which is what the Bitcoin network needs to maintain decentralization. So the small blockers wanted to make sure Bitcoin blocks stayed small and decentralized, and therefore more secure. We have to remember that this was still kind of early on in Bitcoin. The Lightning Network wasn't even around yet, which was part of the problem and part of the debate that was ongoing with all of this. So the bigger users, which included most miners at the time, wanted to increase the block size. So the independent users, who are the small guys, started what they call UASF, which is the user-activated soft fork versus a hard fork. So this was a conflict that was years in the making, and one that eventually and deceptively led to the creation of Bitcoin Cash. So don't be fooled, Bitcoin Cash is not the same as Bitcoin. However, in so many details that I will not get into because they're extremely technical, Bitcoiners should not be messed with. They will come for you. Decentralization wins every time. This conversation took place on Reddit and then eventually moved over to Twitter. So I don't know if you've heard the term like crypto Twitter, but it's definitely a thing, and like some serious conversations happen. And I think it's super cool to see how they banded together, and it was the developers and the big guys versus the users and the people who also understood the code as well.
So they ended up going with the soft fork, which means the small blockers were victorious over the big blockers.
Yes, so the date was August 1st, 2017. This had been going on off and on for like 2 years. And basically, to like just quickly sum it up, there was some, I think it was like the New York something, the bigger guys who didn't quite understand the code as well, they put in a different software, and it got overlooked by the small blockers. I mean, that is like butchering it to like maximum level, but that's essentially what happened. And so when August 1st rolled around, the new upgrade went in, and the smaller guys had the majority.
I'll be darned. And that's how blockchain essentially works, is that you have to have a majority of the users agree to a certain change or difference before it can get enacted.
And because the miners were kind of on the bigger side at the time, I would say they're definitely more on the smaller side now. They carried more weight. So the users really had to like band together to get it to move on. So
you definitely had to do a deep dive, because that is very technical, full of coding, and thank you for bringing that and like simplifying it for us.
Thanks.
That makes a lot more sense now.
I'm going to keep studying it, so ask me again in a couple months. I'll be able to explain it better. There's a book called The Block Size Wars that I ordered. It has not come in yet, so I'm looking forward to reading that to even learn more. So,
well, thank you, Becca.
Yeah.
My last piece today is the SEC continues their efforts to regulate the crypto market. This week, the U.S. SEC charged 11 people in a Ponzi scheme that raised over $300 million. 4 of these individuals are from a company called Forsage. According to the SEC's complaint, the scheme's website was launched in January of 2020 and allowed millions of retail investors to enter into transactions via smart contracts on Ethereum, Tron, and the Binance blockchain. Allegedly, the group operated as a pyramid scheme for more than 2 years, in which investors earned profits by recruiting others into the scheme. Forsage then used the assets from their new investors to pay earlier investors in a typical Ponzi structure. Without admitting or denying allegations, 2 of the defendants agreed to settle the charges, and one of them has already paid their penalties, the SEC said. But here comes the interesting twist. Gary Gensler has been accused of obstruction of justice for failing to enforce laws related to the naked short selling of crypto-focused stocks AMC and GameStop, and failing to provide competent market oversight. So there's this group of people that have created this petition that's circulating around to get him removed as chairman. And as of this morning, it had almost 25,000 votes. Once the petition gets to 100,000, authorities might actually consider enacting on it. Wow, did not see that one coming.
That's significant. I mean, just the forsage, chaos, mayhem that's happened there. And then the fact that Gary Gensler's getting accused of like just not acting soon enough. I mean, that's basically what they're saying, right?
I think so. I mean, I always thought he was like a huge proponent and like trying to bring some regulation. And I thought he was a good guy.
Was he even chairman at the time of the GameStop situation?
I thought so, based on the article. I was reading it. I thought that he was. Otherwise, I don't think they would
accuse that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, true.
I don't know. Are you a fan of Gary Gensler? Do you like him? We talk about him a lot on our show. What's your opinion of him?
I think Gary Gensler is a necessary evil that must exist in America for our monetary system to exist. But I think it's hard for one man to not be, if you give any human that much power, it's going to be a little bit corrupt, I think. I've never met Gary. I don't know him personally. I don't read very much from him. So poor guy gets beat up on Twitter all the time, and that's what I mostly see. I know he's probably just trying to do his job, but I wish that he would listen to Hester Peirce, who's also on the SEC board, and kind of hear more of what she thinks, because I think she's more level-headed when it comes to regulation.
I see. So he's more like, he's got like a burning torch, and she's got maybe a softer tact.
I think so, but I could be wrong.
Very cool. Well, thank you. I've always wondered, because I can never tell your opinion when we talk about him, if you're a fan or not. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.